On the bottom of Chav Ches Amud Aleph, the last line, the Mishnah is quoted Iser Mitzvah, Iser Kedusha, Choletzes V'lo Misyabemes. The Gemara asks, Ha Nami Tanina. Why do we need this repetition? We already have it. And here we start Chav Ches Amud Beis. And we're talking about a Yavam. And his Yevamot is Asur Lav Be'Iser Mitzvah, which means Shniyas L'Arayis M'Rabbanon. V'chein Iser Kedusha Chayve Lavin V'Esin is the law of the Yevamot is Choletzes V'lo Misyabemes, because since we have only an Iser D'Rabbanon of Shniyos, but that's enough to block Yibum, and certainly Kol Shkein Lav is enough to block Yibum, but it doesn't have enough, shall we say, koach to completely be mafkir the mitzvah of Yibum, certainly not in D'Rabbanan, not even in Chayve Lavin, and therefore she needs Chalitza. So why did our Mishnah again repeat and review the same din? And the Gemara answers, Hasam Iser Mitzvah Lechuda. There was one Yevama who fell for Yibum, and she was Asura Be'Iser Mitzvah, and therefore she's Asura Liyava. But Hacha, we're talking about Iser Mitzvah Ve'achosa. There were two sisters that fell for Yibum. One was Asura Be'Iser Mitzvah, and the other not. I would have said Lekum Iser Mitzvah Bimkom Iser Erva. We're going to allow the other sister to be Misyamin, to Syamin, like a case of Achosov and Iser Erva. Mashmala, no. Since the Iser Mitzvah is not the Oraisa, therefore she's Kukam and Ator for Yibum, and therefore her sister is Achos Kukas, and she's Asur B'Yibum. So the Gemara raises the fine question, V'tis Yabim? Does it cross anyone's mind that her sister could be Misyabim? Kevan de Midoraisa, Ramya Kameh, on a Doraisa level, Iser Mitzvah falls for Yibum, is Kapaga B'Achos Kukasa. Obviously, there's no Havamina that to be Yibum to the other sister because she's Achos Kukasa. Salkadait Kamil, our answer is Mishum Mitzvah Avid Rabbanan. For the sake of the Mitzvah Doraisa of Yibum, the Rabbanan are going to look aside at the Iser Mitzvah, which is only Shniyos D'Rabbanan, and Asur Rabbanan Iser Mitzvah ki Iser Erva, but v'lo Asura be Iser Zika kisheyesh alea Iser Mitzvah. They're not going to create an Iser Zika. They're going to allow for Yibum because the sister is not Achos Kukasa. Meaning that there's a Havamina that the Rabbanan could upgrade the status of an Iser Mitzvah and consider it like an Iser Erva, as if she didn't have a Zikas Yibum, she didn't fall for Yibum, and therefore there could be Yibum with her sister because she's not Achos Kukasa. No. Achosa of an Iser Mitzvah cannot fall for Yibum. She doesn't have the possibility of Yibum. And we're not going to pull any tricks here. She's still on a Dorais level, Achos Kukaso, and she's Asura B'Yibum. The Mishnah says, Hoisa Achas Man Asura El Zebisar Rais, Ashni Asura El Zebisar Erva, Asura Lezem Uteres Lezev, Asura Lezem Uteres Lezev. Once again, we're going to see the Gemara is going to ask, we already had this, but the principle is that if there's an Iser Erva towards one of the two brothers, one of the two Yevamim, he could be Miyabim the other Yevam, the other sister, but the other way around. And so Gemara asks, Hasulamali, we already Hanu Hach. We have this in the Reisha of Achos Iser Erva Muteres L'Syabim. So why does Sefer have to repeat Shtei Achios Asuras B'Iser Erva? And the din of a Reisha is when one of them is Asur B'Yisrael, it's Mali L'Chad Mali L'Trei. What differences make, argues the Gemara, whether the Yevama is asur on one of the achim, or when the two Yevamos are asuras on both of the achim. And the Gemara answers tricha. The Mishnah has to teach us the din of achos achas erva and shtei achios erva. Why? Diashmin and Hassam, in the ratio where one of the two sisters is asur b'isur erva, and the Mishnah tells me achosam is yabemes hava, I mean, I would have said that only in that case do we have a het yibum mishum deika sheni. There's another brother, and vis-a-vis the other brother, both of them are asuros. Demuchach shachos kuka asur biyavam. We don't have to worry that somebody might not know that there's an iser of yibum in the case of achos kukasa, because here it's clear we asked for the second brother, both sisters, because of the iser of achos kukasa. And the reason why one of them has a heter yibum is because there's an erva who didn't fall for yibum at all, so therefore there's no achos kukasa. Aval hach. Here in this case, right? Each one of the brother could be miyabim, the other one who's not the erva. The lekat sheni the kabuchach, but we don't have any proof here to demonstrate the isra achos kukaso. Maybe we should make a gzera that they'll come to be matir achos kukaso bi'alma. We have to somehow educate them about, drive it home that there's an isra achos kukaso. Say, we're not going to be matir both of them for yibum. So therefore, we need the Tana to tell me this din, and in shtei achios, who are erva to one or the other, then mitziyamos, the other one is mitziyabes. Yashmin and hacha. And if we had the Mishnah only here, only this Mishnah in shtei achios erva, with both of them an erva to respectively to one of the two brothers, and therefore shtei mutaris even for the other one, is I would have said only in that case mutaris lusyabim, we're going to allow yibum the adarab. Since each one of the brothers is also to marry the other sister. Is travayim mucha hadad. Each one of the brothers, by allowing him to marry only one of the two sisters, and the shniya is asuralo, we see clearly that there's no iser of achos kukaso, and that's why they're muteris l'syam. Avol idach, but in the Reisha, where there's only one yavam, and he's mutalus yamim, even though the sheni is asur, is we would say came in the enkan shnayim. There's no two shemochichem echad al sheni. Right? It's possible that we should make a gzera that they may say that there's a heter of achos kuku because there's no clear-cut indication of an isra achos kusa is low. Therefore, we're not going to allow yibum sricha, and that's why the Mishnah has to teach me this din. Even in the case of one Yavam, and even in the case of Shnei Yavam, each one has a chiddush of its own. The Gemara asks, the lashon of Zuhi, it means Zuhi comes lema'ute, it's a mute. Dafka in this case, where the achios are arayos, then we can have a yibum of the heter, right, that we discussed. But lemute mai, what is this zui coming to exclude? The Gemara answers, lemute, when one of the two sisters is asur be'isur mitzvah lazeh, and be'isur mitzvah lazeh. Vis-a-vis one of the brothers, we have an isur shniyas larayos, and vis-a-vis the other brother, we have another Iser of Shnios Larayos. He gives a case here in the Masechet. He says, Ruvain, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda are brothers. Rachel is a Shniya Larayo as far as Levi is concerned. Leah is a Shniya Larayos as far as Yehuda is concerned. And Rachel and Leah are sisters. Ruvain marries Rachel, who's Asur Levi. Shimon marries Leah, Asur Yehuda. Now Reuven and Shimon die. and their wives fall to Yibum in front of Levi and Yehuda. And the din is that since Midaraisa, Rachel and Leah require Yibum to Levi and Yehuda, each one therefore generates an Iser on both of them. And the Iser of Achos Kukasa, that certainly on a Daraisa level is true. And therefore Cholzos Volmis Yavmos. So although in our Mishnah, where there's an erva on one of them, then the other one is Misyabemes. But Zui is coming Lemute, this case of an Isser Mitzvah to this one, and an Isser Mitzvah to that one, because on a Daraisa level, there is a Zika for even for both of them, hence we have the Isser of Achos Kukasa. So the Gemara asks, we already know this from the Reisha. It says in the Reisha, Achosa shel Isser Mitzvah Surah B'yibu, because they're Achos Kukaso on a Daraisa level. So Hasulamal. Why would I need the Mishnah to go out of its way with this Miyad of Zuni to teach me that which I already know? I know Hach. There's no Chiddush in the Sefer more than the Reisha. Mali Lechad, Mali Letrei. So the Gemara answers, Mali Detema. I need the Chiddush of the Sefer, that even in case of Shtei Achos, and there's an Isa Mitzvah, that would generate an Isa Yibum on each one of the brothers. Mal Detema. If not for the diuk in the Sefer, I would have said that ki lo amrinon. When do we not say uki iser mitzvah mokum iser erva, and she's not skukalo, and therefore achosas muteres? That's only echa the ika lemigzar mishum sheni. That there's room to be choshesh that the other brother will also come to miyabim the sister, even though he's also b'shtein. Avol heicha, in the case where both achim amutarim liyibum delekla migzar mishum sheni. Aim, I would have said lahai ukimna iser mitzvah b'makom iser erva. For that one brother, we're going to be matir him for yibum of the sister lahai. And the other brother, Ukimna Iser Mitzvah Iser Erva Liyabmu, maybe we could allow both of them to do Yibum. Kamash Malon, the Mishnah says Zuhi, that only Achos Erva Muteris, but Iser Mitzvah, since with the Raisa there is a Zika to both of them, and they both fall for Yibum, because on a Deraisa level there's no Erva, therefore it's Iser Achos Zukukoso, and there's an exclusion of Yibum for both of them. So now we have an explanation of which arayos our Mishnah is talking. The Kulan in all 15 arayos that are listed in the first Mishnah in the Perek Anikori Bahen, Asura Lezeh, Muteris Lezeh. You could have a situation of two sisters that fell for even to two brothers. One of them is Asura, and Achosa, she, the other sisters, Asura ala Yovam Hasheni, in that same Iser Erev. And since the Erev is not Skukalo, he can be Miyabim, her sister. It's not Achos Skukos. Achosa, Kishihi Yevimta, Ocho Letzes O Misyabemes, and the sister of a Yevama, of an Erva, and she's a Yevama, and she falls in front of two brothers. Each one is Asura al Echad Mehem. Viser Erva is then Choletzes V'lo Misyabemes. For Rabbi Yehuda Metargem, he interprets Rav and Rabbi Chia's understanding of the Mishnah that it doesn't apply to all 15 arayas that are enumerated in the first Mishnah, but only from Chamoso V'elef, the 9 arayos that are listed from Chamoso, Aval Shisa Bavi Bereisha, the 6 arayos which are mentioned at the beginning of the Bava Rishon of the Mishnah. That's all Bito. It means Bito, Bas Bito, Bas Bino, Bas Ishto, Bas Bito, Bas Bino, Lo. they're not included in this principle called Asura Lezeh, Muteris Lezeh, Asura Lezeh, Muteris Lezeh. The Gemara explains why. My timer. And the answer is, I'll just give you a little bit of an overview of this sugya, and then we'll get into the details. We can only work out Muteris Lezeh, Asura Lezeh in Bito with regard to Anutsaso, but not in the Sualo. That can't work out because it would be an illegal possibility of a violation of an Isser Erev. Let's explain. Even the Bito be'ontzim hu de mishkachas lo, b'nesuin lo mishkachas lo. You could have an Asura Lezeh, Muteris Lezeh only in a case of Bito mina ones. Kigon, he works out the details for you. Onas Reuven es Sarah, v'yoldalo es Rachel. So Rachel is the daughter of Sarah through an ones of Reuven to Sarah. Then Onas Shimon es Sarah. There's a horrible situation here. But yoldalo es Leah. So that means that Rachel is the daughter of Sarah, and so is Leah. So Rachel and Leah are sisters on the maternal side. So Rachel, the daughter of Reuven, and Leah, the daughter of Shimon, have two different fathers, but they have the same mother. They're sisters from their common mother, Sarah. Nasa Levius Rachel, Bas Reuven, V'Yehuda Nasa Esachoso Leah Bas Shimon. Umesu Levi v'Yehuda. So the wives of Levi v'Yehuda, which means Rachel and Leah, fell for Yibam to Reuven and Shimon. Now Rachel, if you recall, is the daughter of Reuven. So that's Bito. And Muteris l'Yabim l'Shimon. Shimon can be Miyabim. You might say it's Achos Kukaso, but the answer is that since her sister Leah is an Erev on Shimon because of Bito, therefore she doesn't have a Zik at all. Leah is the daughter of Shimon. She's Asur Mishum Bito, but Muteris l'Yabim l'Reuven. So that works out very well that we have Asur Lezeh, Muteris Lezeh. But in a case of Bito min Nesuin, lo mishkachas lo. You cannot have shtei achios and each one is Muteris li'echad v'asur l'shen. Keep going. Here's your example. Reuven marries Sarah and has a child, Rachel. Then, in order for Shimon to marry this Rachel, Reuven divorces his wife Sarah, and Shimon, who's not allowed to marry the Grusha of his brother, that's Rachel, went ahead and he married Rachel. Again, he switches the names here a little bit. It's Reuven who married Sarah and then had a child named Rachel. Okay, so Shimon went ahead and he married Sarah after Reuven delivered a divorce to Sarah, and they had a child named Leah. Okay, so Leah again and Rachel are sisters from the mother. Then Levi marries Rachel, the daughter of Reuven. Yehuda marries her sister Leah bas Shimon, and Levi and Yehuda die. Their wives fall for Yibam to Reuven and Shimon. Reuven is also Barachel because of Bito. He's also in Leah as well because Leah is bas Ishto. So it's impossible for these two Achios mina Em, who are Benos Shnei Achim, from an Isha Nesua to have such a situation. You can't have Shtei Achis Menaim that are Banos of two brothers. So it only works out in the case of an Anusa, and then Reuven is Mutter B'Leah, Bas Shimon, because she's Bas Anusa, so she's not Bito. And the Mishnah says earlier at the beginning of the Masechet that B'Nesuin Kamayri and Ba'ontim Lo Kamayri. So therefore, we don't find in Bito a possibility of Bito unless it's been an Ontim of Rabbi Chia's Asur B'Zeh, Muteris B'Zeh. Now we have a different interpretation of Rav and Rabbi Chia. Abaye disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda. Umitargnim bito manusaso. He doesn't have any problem with interpreting bito to refer to anusaso. He doesn't accept the principle of ba'onsim loka mairi. However, kevan dashkuche mishkachas, if you could work it out, e boy b'onsim tehevi, e boy v'nesuin tehevi. However, Abai says that there is one erva situation which does not lend itself to asura lezeh muteres lezeh. It's listed in the Mishnah of the 15 arayos, and that's Eishes achiv shelo haya ba'olam. That's not included in asura lezeh muteres lezeh, and this is based on a principle of Abai beplukta lo kamayri. The Mishnah doesn't want to get into a controversy, into a subject, il halacha, that depends on a machlokas. And that's kevan da aliva de Rabbi Shimon of the mishkachas la, aliva de Rabbanan lo mishkachas la is beplukta lo kamayr. So let's see how this could work out. Eishes achiv shelo haya ba'olamo, according to Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon holds that the isur of Eishes achiv shelo haya ba'olamo only applies if the ach that was born before the yibum of his brother. But if the second brother was miyamim, and then afterwards he was born, then there's no zika to the original brother, but a zika straight to the second brother, and they were haya ba'olam echad, hu mishkachas la. So therefore, if Reuven and Shimon and Levi and Yehuda are brothers, Rachel and Leah are sisters, Reuven marries Rachel, Shimon marries Leah, Reuven dies without banim, Rachel falls for Yibum in front of his brothers, the brothers of her late husband, and then Yisachar is born. When Yisachar is born, Rachel, the wife of Reuven, is Asura Olav Mishum Eishes Achiv Shelo Haya Ba'olamo, and Levi only subsequently was Miyabim Rachel, the wife of Reuven. And when he dies, meaning Shimon also dies, then Leah, his wife, falls for Yibum to his brothers, and then Zvulun is born. When Zvulun is born, he finds Leah, the wife of Shimon, Asura Ola B'Yisur Eishes Achiv Shelo Haya Ba'olamo. Now Yehuda's Miyabim Leah, the wife of Shimon, and now Levi and Yehuda die. Their wives fall for Yibum. So according to Reb Shimon, Rachel is Asura to Yisachar because she is Eishes Reuven and Lo Haya Ba'olamo shel Yisachar, but she's Muteres to Zvulun, who is born after the Yibum of Levi, after Levi was Mekayim Yibum. So that same Eishes Reuven is Muteres L'Yisachar, even though she's Asura, Muteres L'Zvulun, even though she's Asura L'Yisachar. But Aliba the Rabbanan lo mishkachas le, it's impossible according to the Rabbanan. You cannot construct a Asura B'zeh Muteres Eishes Achiv Shelo Haya Ba'olamo, because according to the Rabbanan, Rachel's Asura to Zvulun, because Zvulun was not B'olamo shel Reuven, and it doesn't matter, even though he finds a behet. Of Safra Mitargem, Af Eishes Achiv Shelo Haya Ba'olamo. Umishkachas la b'shisa achi aliba de Reb Shimon. So Rav Safra has no problem in interpreting our Mishnah aliba de Reb Shimon. He doesn't accept the principle of Abaya b'plukta lo kamayri. The Simancha, and if you want a memory device for Asura Lazeh Muteres Lazeh, it's going to be the following scenario of three sequences: Mace, Nolad, Yibem, and then Mace, Nolad, V'Yibem. So it's Mace, Nolad, V'Yibem. Mace, Nolad, V'Yibem. Which means Reuven and Shimon are married to two sisters, and Levi and Yehuda, their brothers, are married L'shtei Noshim Nochrios, to two other women. not related to the other sisters. Umeis Ruvain, and then Nolad Yisachar. Right, that's brother number 5. And then V'yibem Levi. Then Levi was Miyabem, the wife of Ruvain. And then Meis Shimon. And then Nolad Zvulun. You see the pattern over there. Meis Nolad V'yibem, Meis Nolad V'yibem. And V'yibem Yehuda. Yehuda is Miyabem, the wife of Shimon. Meisu Levi Yehuda below Banim, but Naflu Lahu, their respective wives fell for even to Kami Yisachar and to Yizvulun. And Asur Lezemu tells us, Asur Lezemu tells us, Vachosa Sheyivimto is Choletzes Omis Yabemes. So according to Rabbi Shimon, it's very possible that you could have a Metzius of Eishes Achim Shlohai Ba'alama, which would be to Muteres Bezeh, Asur Bezeh. The Gemara says, I don't understand. Lama li Yibem Yehuda. Why did you have to introduce 6 brothers? And Yehuda was Miyabem Eshes Shimon after the birth of Zvulun. Below Yibem Yehuda, Nami Mishkachas, you could have sufficed with 5 brothers, and you would still be able to construct Asur Lezeh Muteres Lezeh. If Ruvain died and then Yisachar was born, drop Zvulun, and then Levi was Miyabem, and then Shimon dies and Zvulun is born, is there afterwards, if Levi dies and his wife falls to Yisachar and Zvulun together with Eshes Shimon, because she's still Zekukelho from the Misa of her husband, then the din is that Yisachar is also Eshes Levi. Why? Because when he was born, he found Eshes Levi as an Eshes Achiv of Ruvain, Shlohai B'Olamo. He's Miyabim Eshes Shimon Shlohai B'Olamo. Zvulun is also B'Leah because she's Eshes Achiv Shlohai B'Olamo. If he's Miyabim Rachel, Shlohai B'Tchil Eshes Ruvain, and the reason he's allowed to do it is because he was born already after Levi was Miyabim Rachel. And therefore, when he came to the world, he finds a beheta, meaning that Zika is already a Zika coming from not from Eshes Ruvain, but rather from Levi, Eshes Levi. So we worked it out with 5 brothers. So the Gemara says, Mishum Tzara. So the Gemara says, Hatenach Tzara, but Tzara the Tzara Michael. And Meimer could go to Hadar v'Yibnu Nami Gad v'Yosh. We introduce another 2 brothers, Gad v'Yosh. And that's how we work it out, that it could be Tzara de Tzara. So he says here that the reason why Rav Safra mentioned 6 brothers is because there's an extra chidush that even the wife of Yehuda, Harishona, is Asura al Zvulun. After Yehuda was Miyabim Leah, the wife of Shimon, and that's called Sarasa. Eshes Levi, Harishona, is also Asura al Yisachar Mishum Sarasa. So if the Tsaros are sisters, for example, Sarah and Rivka, maternal sisters, the Nasa Levi is Sarah. Levi married Sarah. Yehuda married Rivka. When Ruvain dies and Yisachar is born, and then Levi is Miyabim Rachel Eshes Ruvain, so there'll be an Isser over here. And then Shimon dies and Zvulun is born. V'yibem Yehudas Leah Eshes Shimon. Mesu Levi v'Yehuda below Banim v'Naflu Sarah v'Rivka v'nei Yisachar Zvulun. The din is that Sarah, who is Eshes Levi, is Asur Yisachar, because she is a Sarah of Rachel, who is Ruvain's wife, and she's Asur Yisachar because of Eshes Achim Shlohai B'Olamo. Sarah, on the other hand, is Muteres Zvulun because Zvulun was born after the Yibum of Rachel, the Tzara of Levi, to Levi. Her sister Rivka is Asura Zvulun because she's a Tzara to Leah, who's Shimon's sister, who is prohibited to zvula because veishasachar tzolay below. But muteres lisachar shenolad b'chai Shimon. So therefore, Rav Safra adds another brother to the equation in order to set up dam tsaros and apply the din of asur l'zeh muteres l'zeh. And the Gemara says that even the tzara could work out the havi, the hadar v'yadminu nami god v'osh. The Mishnah now at the bottom of Chav Ches Amud Beis. Shlosha achen. Shnayim mehem nisuin l'shtei achios. Ole isho bito, ole isho bas bito, ole isho bas bina. So the brothers who were married died. Hare, as far as their wives, elu cholzos v'lo misyabos. As far as the third brother is concerned, since we have a double zika, shteim zkukos lo, is each one of them is krovas zkukasa, and therefore there's an isur yibum. And this is based on the principle called yesh zika, that zika is like a mixas ishus. But they need chalitza to pater him up from the zika because the isur here is only dirabana. Rabbi Shimon poter, Rabbi Shimon completely exempts them both from chalitza and even the Gemara is going to explain this. Logically, we might say that Rabbi Shimon holds that krovas kukaso is a do'oraisa. So the Mishnah continues. Achas man asura ola be'isur erev. Let's say Reuven and Shimon and Levi are brothers, and they marry. And Reuven and Shimon marry two sisters. Reuven marries Rachel. She's one of the 15 arayas that are asuras on Levi. Shimon marries her sister Leah. Reuven and Shimon die without any children, and these two sisters fall to Levi for yibum. Asur ba umuter b'achos. So Levi is asur b'Rachel because she's an erva, but he's muter b'achos Leah, and he can be miyabim her because Leah is not achos kukasa because Rachel's asura olav be'isur erva, as we said before, and there's no zika, there's no nefil for you. But im ha'isa Rachel asura olav be'isur mitzvah, which is shniyas larayos, and that's only an isur drabanan. Or alternatively, one of them is asura olav be'isur kedusha chayve laviv, and then the isur yibum is only drabanan because midaraisa they are skukal yibum, is therefore Rachel Leah, both of them cholzos for lo misyamos, both of them on a doraisa level as kukos lo, and this is already achos zikukoso, and therefore yibum of one of them is completely excluded, but they both need chalitza because the isur yibum is the rabban, and the raisa there is this. Anya, we have in a brayso that if two sisters fall for yibum, Rabbi Shimon poter b'shtein min hachalitza min ha'yibum. A new drasha, a new principle of Rabbi Yehuda derived from the pasuk shenemar dafka in the parsha of Arayos vayikra yudches. It says v'yishalach l'solo sikach litzrar, and Rabbi Shimon darshans that two sisters v'shash nasu tzarazu, so meaning they both fell for yibum in front of one yavam, is lo yehelecha likuchin afilu ba'achas man. The Torah patters up from yibum and prohibits both of them in an isur eishesah. Now the Gemara says we learned in that Mishnah Haisa achas man asura ola bisur erva asur bo muter b'achos. So the Gemara asks, this is a repetition of what we had in the earlier Mishnah asu lamali hainu hach. It's a repetition, and the Gemara answers Rabbi Shimon it's salkit. I would have thought hoil the Omar Rabbi Shimon shtei achios lo cholzos lo misyabmos. According to the Shita Rabbi Shimon, if two sisters fall, then there's an isur da'oraisa is therefore ligzar. In the case of achos erva shalotis yamin, we should make a gzera to block yibum in the sister of an erva mishum, because he might come to be miyabim shtei achios dialma. In another case, that even Reb Shimon allows you to be miyabim the achos erev, and there's no gzera of shtei achios dialma. And now we're up to Iser Mitzvah on the bottom of Chav Ches Amud Beis, which continues on Daf Chav Tes Amud Aleph. And the Gemara is going to quote Rabbi Shimon in the Mishnah of Shtei Achios Lo Cholzos Lo Misyabos, and that Polineder will cover tomorrow.